The objective are to understand the usage of if else, and you have nested if else, is not stated here, nested if else, and also switch and conditional operator. Okay, so we have number one, if, understand the usage of it, two, if else, nested if else, and three, switch, and number four, conditional operator. So we have four things to consider. And after you understand the usage of it, you need to identify output. Even though you can, yes, you can use C programming, but identify the output for a small programming sentences. Okay, you need to identify for small programming sentences before you go on to the bigger, longer expression and so on statement. And you need to understand the meaning of what does it mean by the true or false in C. All right, so in C programming, we have three types of control statement, three types. Number one is if, and also if else, and also the family of this. So the whole thing is under if else, and also keluarga dia apa? What does it mean by family? It means that it can also have just if, just single if, and it can also have a bunch of if else. That is called nested if else. And there is also something, another control statement, which is switch. Switch, we are going to talk about that after that, and also the conditional operator. Okay, and within these three types of control statement, if else is more general. This is more general. Switch, this is only for integer and also the character data type. Conditional operator is also much more constricted. That it means that this is for only two options. If else is the bigger picture. All right, now the if statement. Let's look at the syntax. This is just if, condition, and statement. So in the C program, so this is like if, condition, and then let's say x equals to b, something like that. Okay, an example. If y is bigger than 0, so this is what? This is the relation operator. Why relation operator? You can also use logic operator, because this is going to give you true or false. So the condition right here, it is either true or false. Okay, so you need to put the relation operator. You don't put arithmetic equation there. You don't put arithmetic operation inside the condition. You either put relation operator or logic operator. And this one, this is what you want to do. You want to add or minus and so on, assign values, that's up to you. But you need to understand the condition. All right, now let's look at the flow chart of this if statement. So this is only single condition, only one condition. If it's true, it will be evaluated or it will be executed. Let's look at this one, this flow chart. You can see that entry, test condition, test expression, true or false. So if it's true, then it will go to this statement, and after that, exit this condition. Okay, so if it's not true, or if it's the condition is not met, then it will just go to this part. So the false condition in this case, this is like a default, the default statement. Because why? Because if it's not true, then it will always go to the default case. Right now, let's see. In Malaysia, if let's see some example that we have come into our everyday life. If the last digit is odd, the IC holder is a woman. Is this condition is true or false?
False.
Yeah, actually this is false, but in this case, in this statement, you need to make this to be true because this one is false. Okay, so how to change this condition so that this is true? So that the statement is hold. Okay, so macam mana nak tukar dia punya condition? How to change the condition?
Can if you just never mind, that I don't have, I also have no idea.
Let me see, we have one from chat. The IC holder is a man. Yeah, so there are two ways to fix this, because logically this doesn't make sense, because this is a logic error. You want something and something else came out. So let's see another one. Check the last digit is even. Yeah, so you have two ways to fix this, because this is logic error. This is not syntax error. Let's say we use the proper relation operator, and this is not exactly syntax error, but this is a logic error. Means that you want to do something, but something else come out. So you can change the condition. You can say, you can change right here. The last digit is even, and then this condition and this if condition is true. Or you can also change something like this. Yes. The IC holder is a woman, which is not it was supposed to be, so this should be a man. So there are two ways to fix your if statement. Okay, so either the rule is wrong or the statement is wrong. So either one you can change. Okay, now let's look at the second question, second examples. Okay, if the password is correct. So as long as this is true, then the door will be open. Like when you see something, for example, you can use programming in order to put a key in the keypad, door keypad, macam kalau awak tengok dalam cerita tu kan, dia masukkan apa, they key in the password, pin number, and then if it's open, if it's the password is correct, then it will automatically open. Okay, so make sure that the statement is right, the condition is right. Right, now number 3. So if mark is bigger or equals to 40, and it will be passed. So the condition right here is true, and this is the statement. All right, now if we have more than two statements for one true condition. Okay, so you need to put into curly braces. Kena letakkan dalam curly braces. Because this statement number 1, statement number 2 belong to this condition. Okay, contoh, let's look at this example. If password is correct, the door open, and then I need to say the light is on. So because due to the correctness, due to the password is right, and then the door open as well as the light will be turned on. An example. So it's an easy example. Okay, and the flow chart looks like this. The only difference is what? This one. You can see this is only a single statement, but this one we have double statement, or you can say this is like a compound statement. We have more than one statement. Okay, and this is a default. Let's see an example. What's the difference between example number 1 and example number 2? Apa beza di antara example number 1 and example number 2? Nampak tak
There is
perbezaan?
no curly bracket.
Yeah. So for example number 2 and example number 1, the difference is only one, which is the curly braces. Okay. So what's the difference? Does it make any difference? Yes, it does. Why? Because this one, like I said just now, this one compound statement belongs to this condition. It's like this is mine, it's mine. However, for this condition, for this expression and statement, only the first line belongs to this. The next line does not belong to the condition. Okay, what's the effect of this one? Okay, the effect of doing like this, doing curly braces. Let's say if my condition, if x is positive, let's say x is equals to 4. Okay, so x is equals to 4. So the condition is true, and then the sum will be increased by x. So this is like let's say sum is initialized to 0, x equals to 4, and also the count is initialized to 0. Okay, so the meaning of this sum plus equals to x. So this is like, I can say sum equals to sum plus x, and count is count plus 1. Remember, this is what we did before on Monday, increment, and both are post increment. So what does it do is, this is true, so the sum will be previous value is 0 and then plus x plus 4. So the new value for sum equals to 4. Okay, because this is true and it is belong to this true condition, count will be 0 plus 1. So the new value for count is 1. Compared to this one, compared to this example number 2, let's say x equals to minus 1. So x equals to minus 1, the condition is false. So because this condition is false, the sum plus equals to x will not be evaluated. Okay, how about this one? The next statement. So the count plus plus, because it does not belong to this condition, it's independent. It is independent of this if statement. So it will be evaluated, and the count, the new one will be count plus 1, which is 0 plus 1 equals to 1. And the sum, the value of sum, still 0, because there's nothing is done on that value, because the condition is wrong. So you can see the difference between these two. So sum equals to 4 and 1 for the count, and sum is 0 for the next example number 2, and the count is still increased by 1. So no matter what the value of x, count will be increased by 1. Tak kisahlah x ni nilai dia negatif ke positif ke, betul ke atau salah, dia masih tetap bertambah. So it is independent of the if condition. All right. Any questions so far? All right. I suppose that there will be no question. So remember the moral of the story is what? Moral of the story is be careful if you have a compound statement. Okay. If you have one condition and several statements follow about after that condition, be careful which statement, either that statement belongs to the condition or it does not belong to the condition. And curly braces. All right, let's see some example. Okay, let's take maybe 1 minute, and I want you to try to comprehend what does this program do? Apa program ni buat? Let's take 1 minute and see what does it do. Okay, now, what do you think this program is doing?
This program is doing dia apa? Dia tengok input tu kalau dia positif, then it will say that the number is positive. But if it is not positive, if it is below 0, then it will print it as a negative number.
Macam terbalik je.
Oh, bukan Oh.
Ada jawapan lain tak? Is there any other answer? Sebab bunyi macam terbalik je awak cakap tadi. Okay. So if you look at the first line, let's look at this one by one. How to understand this one? Okay, number 1. So this is a full program. So this is an example of full program. What does it mean by full program? First of all, you need to have this include standard input output, and you need to have your main program, curly braces, and close curly braces. And finally, this is the statement. or expression, etc. All right. Now, first of all, because we are this is like we are evaluating a number, so you declare the variable first. Declare the variables. Then this variable is an integer. Okay, and then this is like initialized using scanf. Using the key user input from the standard input. What does it mean by standard input? The standard input is from your keyboard. Standard in, STDIN. Standard input is from your keyboard. Otherwise, it will be not the standard, which is a file. An example of that. Okay, so remember this type A number. So this sending the message from to the black console, and then scanf. Remember, because this is integer, you need to put the specifier for integer and ampersand number. Okay, ampersand number. Remember what does ampersand means? This means address. So it will store this number into this particular address. All right. If number is 0, okay. Now, if number is 0, then it will make it as minus that number. What does it mean by that? So, for example, if I key in, let's say my number equals to -4. Okay. So the condition is if number less than 0. So -4 is less than 0, so this is true, and it will be number, look at this one, equals to minus the number, which is what, -4, and it will be 4. So in this case, if it's negative, it will make the new number to be positive. So if it's negative, it will make a new number to be positive. Now, what if number equals to +4? So if number equals to +4, and my condition is if number is less than 0, number equals to minus number. Okay, so let's look at this one. Number is less than 0, is it? No, because it's +4. So does it executed this one minus number? No, it will not be executed. So number still equals to 4. It doesn't change. You can see that for every negative number, it will convert it into positive, and positive numbers stay positive. So meaning that it's trying to what? Trying to take the absolute value. Like we understand, if x is -1, the absolute value of x is just 1. And if x is +1, the absolute value of x is also 1. So this is what the program do. Finding the absolute value of an integer. All right. Is it clear? Jelas ke?
Jelas ada.
Yes.
Now, let's look at the next one. Okay. Just now, we have only one condition. So if that condition is true, then it will be evaluated, and other statement will also be evaluated. Kalau kita ada satu condition tadi, kalau dia benar, kalau dia true dalam bahasa Melayu benar lah kan? Benar, kalau dia betul, maksudnya dia akan evaluated, dia akan consider the statement dan juga statement yang lain. Tapi kalau dia salah, kalau dia palsu, statement yang dekat condition tu tak akan evaluate, tapi statement lain masih diambil kira. Okay. The statement that belong to The if is conditional. Okay, now if we have, now I'm using if as well. What if we have two options? Two options. If this one doesn't work, then let's go to this one. It's like a plan A, and then this is the plan B. If else. Okay, so if expression, so this is the true expression, true condition, and this is the false condition, and this is just any other statement. Okay, so you can see that this thing put the curly braces. If you have a single statement, you don't have to put this one. You can say something like this: if x is less than 0, and then x equals to minus x, example, else x equals to 0, and then y equals to minus x, something like that. Just I'm drawing some random example. Okay, so you don't have to put the curly braces if it's only for single statement, but if you put the curly braces for compound statement. A good programming practice is to always put the curly braces. Selalu letak curly braces tu as a good programming practice. Sebab apa? Sebab kita tak tahu bila kita nak ada compound statement. So it is a good practice to always to put the curly braces. Make it a habit to put the curly braces. All right, this is the flow chart. So you have two options, say true or false. So you have just true. If it's true, we have this statement. And if it's not true, that it goes to this statement. Either two. All right, now let's look at this one. Sekarang aku apa ni? Sekarang kau berapa? Saya tak ada jam.
Sekarang 8.32 dah tu.
Okay, tak apa. Tambah lagi. All right. Example number 4. If n is bigger or equals to 0. Okay. Yang ni ke? Okay, yes. If n is bigger or equals to 0, so maksudnya you want to take the positive n. Average is equals to sum divided by n. Okay. And if n is negative, the message that will be displayed is cannot compute average. Cannot compute the average. And then you reset the average to be 0. Okay, when you see something like this, average equals to sum divided by n. Okay, and n is bigger or equals to 0. Just try to analyze this condition statement first. Condition expression. Okay, what if n equals to 0? What's going to happen? Bagaimana kalau n itu sama kosong? Boleh. Can you divide something divided by 0?
Cannot.
Yeah, because the value is going to be undefined. So meaning that you need to be careful with how you put your condition operator. Okay, so be careful in how you put your condition operator. So what do you need to do is just remove this equal sign. Remove this equal sign. And now this is okay. The condition the condition statement, the condition expression is makes sense, logically makes sense from human standard point of view, and you can calculate the average. Otherwise, if it's negative or zero, then you cannot compute the average. Okay, any question on that? Okay, let's see this one. Create a flowchart and pseudocode for a program that determines the largest of three numbers using the following two-step method. Simple two-step method. Number one, compare the first number with the second number and select the larger of the two. Okay, and number two, compare the chosen number in step one, which is this one, and select the larger of the two. Okay, now let's try this. I don't want to, flowchart is it's going to be taking much time. Let's try to use the pseudocode. Okay, let's try to use the pseudocode. Let's use some activity. I think this one belongs to I think this one belongs to chapter 2. Macam mana dia boleh masuk kat sini? It's okay. Okay. Kita apa sebab dia berkaitan dengan if else. Alright, now it says right here, create a flowchart and pseudocode for a program that determines the largest of three numbers using the following simple two method. Number one, compare. Let's say we have A, B, and C. So step number one, this is just like our rangka saja. Yes, this is your plan. Number one, compare A and B. Number two, and then we have output, and then compare output and C. Okay. The thing is, it's not specified. It doesn't specify whether this one, these three numbers, is initialized using what method. It's not say from the user key in or anything else. Okay, so this is just assumption that the user is going to key in. It's going to key in the values. So this is the input. So key in the number one, number two, and number three. Okay, and then it says compare A and B, compare A and B. So this is the relation operator. Relation operator of number one and number two, A and B. So when you compare, you can say that is it number two is bigger than number one? Excuse me, number one is bigger number two. If it's no, then meaning that number two, this means that num2 is bigger than num1 because this is false. Let's look at let's look at for false statement first. So meaning that number two is bigger than number one. So therefore, my output is number two. And the value of this output is going to be brought into the second comparison, second relation operator. Okay, so number three, number three is bigger than the largest? So it's saying largest is what? In this case, is the output number two. So this is comparing number three and number two. So if it's no, if it's false, so this means that number 2 is bigger than number 3. Because the condition, the relation of number 3 bigger than 1, bigger than number 2 is false. So it means the otherwise, the other meaning. And then it will, so from this scale, from this scale, not scale, from this flow chart, you can see that the maximum, not the maximum, the largest value equals to number 2. If you go to this branch. Okay, now let's look at the next one. If we go to the next branch. All right, now what if the number 1 is bigger than number 2, meaning the true condition? So yes, so it is true. So when it is true, so the output is number 1. The output of the largest is number 1. So it will go to this one. So, and then still yes, number 1. No. Okay, let's look at this one, not that one. Okay, so it goes to the number 1. Okay, now if number 3 is bigger than the largest, which is number 1, the relation. If it's true, then it will go to this one. But if it's false, if the value reality, number 1 is bigger than number 2, no, number 3. Okay, so it will go to this one, this branch, and then it will go to output number 1, and so on. So you can give an example. Okay, let's try to assign some numbers. Let's see whether or not this flow chart makes sense. Let's say I'm going to use n1, n2, n3 because num is too long. So n1 equals to 10, just random numbers, and 2 equals to 5, and then n3 equals to, let's say 6, not 6, 7. Okay, let's see that one. Okay, now let's try to plug in this value and see how it goes, and if it does convert to our perception that, so in this case you can see that n1 is largest. All right, now input number 1, number 2, and number 3. So we assign this value. Number 1 is bigger than number 2, n1, so this is 10. Is it bigger than number 5? Yes. So it will go to this one. So the largest will be equals to 10. Okay. And then it will go to the next statement. Number 3, is it bigger than the largest, which is assigned to be 10? Number 3 is what? Number 3 is 7. 7 is bigger than 10? No. So it's not yes. So yeah, it's no. So the output is the largest. What is the value of largest? Equals to 10. So yes, so it is in good agreement with what we have done, which is 10 should be bigger than everything, every 5, and also the 7. Okay, now let's look at this one. Let's look at this procedure for pseudocode, the fake code. Okay, now we are using the same thing, and 1 equals to 10, and 2 equals to 5, and 3 equals to 7. Okay, so input number 1, number 2, and number 3. You can see this is the same as this one, the flow chart. So you put the input number 1, or if you don't want to go for key in, you say initialize. Initialize number 1, number 2, and number 3. So initialize, it can mean anything. You say the statement assign the value directly, or you can just initialize using the scanf function. All right, now If number 1 is bigger than number 2, if number 1 is bigger than number 2, let's say if 10 is bigger than 5, yes, so this is true. So it will say largest, so largest equals to 10. So this is our largest value. How about this one? No. This two is not going to be evaluated. So this two is not going to be evaluated. Why? Because this is false. Let's look at the next if condition. Okay, if number 3 is bigger than the largest, number 3 is 7. Is it bigger than number largest, which is our assigned largest right here, 10? Wrong, because this is false. So since this is false, this is not going to be evaluated, and you end this one. So output is going to be the largest. Which one is the largest? The latest value of the largest, which is 10. So you go one line by line when you use this. Okay, so you go line by line. Any questions so far?
No, Doctor.
Okay, so I think that is quite straightforward. Okay, now let's look at this example. This is also a full statement, a full program. So first of all, this one is what? This one is to do some division. Some division for number 2. You can see that this is the operator, number 1 divided by number 2. Okay, declaration. Okay, and then this is the initialization. Okay, so initialize that. And this is the condition. It says what? Number 2, if it's 0, then you cannot divide by 0. Then this is the error message. Because the denominator is 0. So you cannot divide by 0. Otherwise, you can divide number 1 divided by 2. Okay, now, what if I want to change so that, let's say, soalan saya. So I want to change something like this. If condition, and I said this one, I just let's play with some of this. Answer is num1. Okay, and then the else is printf. Okay, let's see, like if it's something like that. Cannot divide by 0. Okay, now what if I switch the statement? I switch the statement. What happened to the relation operator? What happened to the conditional statement right here? How are you going to put the condition if the statement is like this, is switch? Remember about the relation operator or the logic operator? Yes, Ain Nadira, yes. Apa dia? Num2 is not equal to 0. So yes, you can do that. So you can say if, kenapa tiba-tiba jadi macam tu? If num2 is not equal to 0. So that is your logical not equal to 0. Then your answer is going to be num1 divided by num2. Otherwise meaning that num2 is 0. Not 0 is 0. So that's the opposite of that. Okay, nampak ke dia punya ni? Can you see how you can manipulate the condition, the true condition, and see that it's going to give you a different statement. Okay, boleh ke? Boleh faham? Can you understand this one? Ataupun masih confused? Perlukan masa untuk apa ni? Untuk hadam? Okay. Let me say this again. Okay, now, first of all, I think you are okay with this one, declaration and also this initialization. It's not a problem. Okay, so this is good. This is good, I suppose to be. And let's look at this one. Okay, so let's say my key input is, let's use the original condition, is condition. Okay, let's say my my input, key in num1. Okay, because that is the first number. Number 1 is equals to 10, and then num2 equals to 5. Let's say something like that. Okay, so let's look at this condition. If num equals to 0, print the message cannot divide by 0. Okay, so this one, because num2 is assigned to be 5, and this is not 0. So meaning that this is false. Okay, because this is false, it will go to the next condition. Okay, the next condition is saying printf answer is num1 divided by 2. So because this is false, let's go to the next statement, and answer is num1 divided by num2. So your output is going to be answer is num1 divided by num2, 10 divided by 5, which is 2. So why? Because 2, because 10 divided by 5 is equal to 2. So your answer is 2. Okay, now if I change the statement, I said if my condition and my printf is answer is num1 divided by num2. And then this is the else statement, printf can't divide by 0. Okay. And your friend says what? Because this thing is changing, the statement is changing. So what you need to do is you need to change the condition. Because this one is equals to 0. So num1, if num2, if you understand from this point, num2 is equals is okay, so num2, this condition is saying equals to 0. So therefore, the false statement meaning that num2 is not equals to 0. This is the true condition. This is the false condition. You don't have to specify the false condition. Tak perlu kita specify false condition sebab benda tu dah dikira sebagai else. Kalau if this one is true, the rest will be false. So there's only one truth. The rest is false. Cuma ada satu saja kebenaran. Kalau satu kebenaran tu dah memenuhi, yang lain tu dikira sebagai false. Ataupun if there is no truth, then the other will be the true statement. Terbalik macam tu je. Alright. Now, because this one is false, is num is not equals to 0, so you can say num2 is not equals to 0. Okay, so let's see this one. Num2 is not equals to 0. So this is true. Why? Because num2 equals to 5. So this is not equals to 0. Yes, it is not equals to 0. So it will be, this statement will be evaluated and this statement will not be evaluated. Okay, now what if I have the second set of pairs? Let's say I'm having 10 and I'm having this one as 0. Let's just purposely use that just to check. So let's see this condition. Okay, let's see this one first. Num2 is equal to 0. Now this statement is met. Okay. This statement is met. So this is true. Yes, because num2 is 0. So the message is this: cannot divide by 0. So the output is going to be cannot divide by 0. And this one is not going to be evaluated at all. Okay, now let's look at the second type. If I say if num2 is not equal to 0, so this is false because the value is 0. So because this is false, it will go to the next statement, else. So because the true is not met, there's no truth, so it will take another statement to be true. Okay, so meaning that you can see that either one, you can do this one, you can do this way. So the message is going to be the same. It cannot divide by 0. This also cannot divide by 0. Okay, is it clear? Does that all right. You can also just to play around with this if else, you can also do like this. I don't want to go to the next step. Okay. Okay, you can also do something like this. You can also do a double if. Double if. What does it mean by that? This is the way how you want to use the if program. You can also have something like this. If num2 equals to 0, double equal. Okay, and then I can say printf can't divide by 0. Okay, I purposely do the mistake because why? Because C programming doesn't care if you make a typo, spelling error or not. As long as the syntax is okay, then it will be evaluated. Okay, and you can also put like this: if this is also makes sense. This is also acceptable, makes sense. Okay, why? Because this one, if this one is not met, if this one is false, then it will go to the next one. If this is true, if it is true, what happened? This one is going to be evaluated. And look at this one. So you can see that the true and then this second condition should be false. Why? Should be false. Why? Because num2 is 0. This is true. So this is false. So this one will not be evaluated. So this is another option in how you do this thing. But this is not recommended. Okay, not recommended. Why? I told you because programming should be simple. Okay. So when you put one condition, when you have only two options, two choices, so only take one choice as true. The rest is false. So you don't care about the rest. So you only care about the one truth. Only one truth. The rest just ignore. The same thing, like say, if you want to memorize something, if you want to memorize two things, okay, if you want to memorize two things, you only memorize one thing. Ingat satu saja. Yang terbalik, ya, the rest, the next one, the other, let's say, materials is the opposite of the first material. So you don't have to, you save your memory in your head or something. So if it's the opposite of the first material, so just remember one thing. You don't have to memorize both. Same thing like in programming. Okay, I think I went over the time limit. Okay, so